In today's show, the Blazers come up short against the Jazz in OT. But at least we got 2 highlight dunks for the ages. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, talking the Blazers' Saturday loss to the Jazz, a game they rallied back late and went to OT before coming up short in the final 90 seconds of overtime. We'll recap that one. We'll talk about the controversial, honestly, the final 90 seconds of overtime and 2 highlight dunks for the ages. Plus, I think Scoot Henderson just played the best game of his NBA career. He's slowly trending up. All of that in today's show. But let's start doing what we do. Your fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 118-113 in overtime against the shorthanded Jazz. Jazz playing without Lauri Markkanen, playing without Kelly Olynyk, playing without Jordan Clarkson. So they're starting Keontae George and Ochai Agbaji and Omer Yurtseven and John Collins and Simone Fontecchio. Like, this is a winnable road game against the Blazers, who are mostly healthy other than Anthony Simons and Rob Williams is out for the year. So, longer tail on that one. But, this was a winnable road game, and the Blazers were, they were never really out of it, but they found themselves down for the majority of the game. Down, they actually had a lead after 24-21. But things got out of control in that second quarter, found themselves down by as many as 16, and they go into the breakdown 12, 44-56. They've had back-to-back stinker first halves, right? They had a struggle in Cleveland where they only had 40 points. They had 44 against Utah in the first half. Like, they're just not shooting the ball well. Jeremy Grant, 0 of 6 in that first half, just 2 points. Like I said, Jazz led by as many as 16, and the Blazers, like we've seen them do so many times before, just stay in the mix. They stay in the fight. It's kind of the staple of this team is that they are nearly every night keeping themselves within, a couple big uppercuts away from a knockouts, but in range. And after 3 quarters, they cut it to 6 late in the third quarter, but it's back up to 10 heading into the fourth, 74-84, and with 7 minutes left in the game, they're still down 11. And they make a late charge, led by Shaedon Sharpe. The Blazers made the late charge with a bench against Cleveland tonight. It was putting the starters back in. Shaedon Sharpe comes back in, gets a layup, nice move on the right-hand side, gets a little step-back three-pointer to go, and then detonates in the final 3 minutes on a Walker Kessler, only for the Blazers to do it again and get Toumani Camara who dunk on Walker Kessler about 40 seconds later, a couple possessions later. We will talk about those big old dunks, but we're talking highlight, full contact, rear back and dunk over a shot blocker dunks in the final 3 minutes of a game that was still in the balance. It was a bunch of fun. We'll spend a little more time talking about those dunks later in the show, but let's get through the recap. So, Blazers down 3, clock ticking under a minute. Malcolm Brogdon takes a deep left wing 3, cash with 39.3 seconds left. He nodded his head like, yeah, you better believe it. Portland gets a stop, has a chance, can't score, and then Utah's going to run the other way, not take a timeout. I am born in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am very much in favor of not taking a timeout with the clock running under 10 seconds. Just go. You don't want them to set up your defense. You want to just go, and they just go. Colin Sexton, who's been really good all night, kind of takes his time, looks like he's going to take a step back 3, leverages that kind of look to get all the way to the rim. There's a moment there when he's got his shoulders square to the rim. He is past the free throw line, and it's like, are they going to give up just a unguarded, uncontested layup to lose the game? Darn. And then Toumani Camara comes out of nowhere, blocks it off the glass. Colin Sexton kind of lost the ball on the way up, but Toumani chased him down after getting beat off the dribble, chased him down, threw it off the glass. the horn goes off. That's a regulation. Game is tied at 106 apiece, and we head to overtime. Blazers twice, had multiple possession leads in OT, but they just couldn't hang on. Actually, one of them was a fake multi-possession lead. I take that back. They had they looked like they went up 5 on a 3-pointer, but was eventually waved off because it was after the shot clock, which was confusing, right? Because you kind of play those possessions maybe a little bit differently. You still want to score, but you play them a little bit differently if you know what the deal is. But Toumani Camara had a bank 3 up against the shot clock that ended up getting waved off. But Blazers briefly took a 4-point lead even before that, but just couldn't hang on. And really, it comes down to sort of a controversial final 90 seconds. Not particularly controversial as far as the NBA's last 2-minute report says. When you get games that go into OT, you get the full 2-minute report and all of overtime. The Blazers. These calls, as the league has reviewed them, did not go back the Blazers' way. The league didn't do one of those totally useless and just generally not very comforting. Yes, we got this wrong. You lost. Goodbye. But it did feel like the Blazers got some challenging calls. And speaking of challenges, that's a word we need to talk about here a little bit. But the Blazers, let's just finish up a fast recap in the West real quick. They don't come up with the plays they need. The Jazz take the lead, and a late miss layup by Malcolm Brogdon and a bucket inside by the Jazz and a putback bucket inside by the Jazz. And Portland comes up just short when an ISO drive from Shaedon Sharpe doesn't finish, and they're forced to foul late, and they lose 118-113. That's your fastest recap in the West. Malcolm Brogdon, 25 points to go with 5 boards and 6 assists. Shaedon Sharpe, really good down the stretch of this game. 25 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists in his own right. 10 and 11 for DeAndre Ayton. Jeremy Grant, 9 points on 1 of 9 shooting, got hurt with 8 minutes and 25 seconds left in this game. Pretty clearly suffered some head trauma. I'll mention this later in the show, and left and did not return for the final 12 minutes. So the Blazers went into overtime without Jeremy Grant against the shorthanded Jazz. Toumani Camara, 8 points. He was really good. 4 steals, a block shot. He plays his butt off, and he was good in this game. Off the bench, Scoot Henderson, 17, the best scoring game of his career, and one of just the best all-around games of his career, even if it comes with some obvious warts. Stuart Breathe, 9 off the bench. Matisse Thybulle, a productive 6 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, and Jabari Walker had 4 in his 24 minutes for the Jazz. 25 off the bench for Colin Sexton on 9 of 13 shooting. Keontae George had 21. John Collins, 17. 7 for Simone Fontecchio. 9 for Omar Yurtseven. Ochai Agbaji finished with 6 points. 12 for Walker Kessler and 8 boards to go with 2 blocks, and he got dunked on hilariously a couple times. Taylor Horton-Tucker had 14, including a big bucket in overtime on a drive. This game came down to a couple controversial calls that I want to talk about in the second segment. It wasn't the reason why the Blazers lost, but it was also one of the reasons that they didn't win. And I want to expand on that a little bit. I want to appreciate the dunks, and I want to talk about Shaedon Sharpe to close the show. But let's talk about those final 90 seconds. Let's talk about some slam dunks in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? Before we do it, though, let's talk about Jase Medical. Jase Medical wants you to be prepared. They want you to have peace of mind, and they don't want uncertainty to be the thing that holds you back from taking care of the ones you love. That's why they have the Jase case. They want things to be okay, because they want you to feel okay. Jase Case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that can treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including some respiratory infections, some skin infections, among other things. If life is uncertain, there are supply chain issues, there are just maybe you're traveling and aren't going to be close to home. And if there are reasons that you would find comfort in having antibiotics on hand, Jase Medical wants to make sure that you have that comfort and you have that peace of mind. So visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more easy to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use the offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com, and the offer code is LOCKEDON. You get $20 off your order. All right. Let's talk about the dunks. These are highlights for For many folks, these are highlights for their career, right? Shaedon Sharpe's going to have a lot of these. Already does have a lot of these. But I mentioned this in the fastest recap, and I want to emphasize this here. By the time these dunks had happened, Alaska Airlines had got their money. They'd already been paid. And what I mean by that is the Blazers have a promotion for the dunk of the night presented by Alaska Airlines. And they got to run it before crunch time. Like it happens from the first 3 quarters, basically halfway through the fourth quarter. That's the ad read, or that's the ad that they do on air. Alaska Airlines got a little steal, nice double team in the backcourt steal and a soft lay-in dunk for Scoot Henderson. It's a really nice highlight. I'm sure Alaska Airlines is going to be happy to have it. I'm happy for them. Happy for the good folks, the friendly skies. That might not be them. I might be mixing up my airlines. But you rarely see these level of dunks with the game on the line. But the Blazers, around the 3-minute mark, Chauncey Billups uses his user to lose a timeout with like 3:17 left. If you can't carry more than 2 timeouts under 3 minutes, Chauncey had 4, so he went ahead and used 1. So he uses his timeout. They set up an ATO, and it's a movement set that basically clears out the side to get Shaedon Sharpe into a dribble handoff with DeAndre Ayton. Let him go to work. I like the play because it's not a straight pick and roll. It's not like a thing that is going to rely on 3 different cuts to set it up, and then you've got one look at it. Like, it's an option play, and then you get a 2-man game, and you just say, hey, you two go to work. Like, the handoff is supposed for you to, you come up from the corner and take the handoff, but then you can make a decision. You can rescreen and all those things, right? Like, it's simple action to set up whole side of the floor for, one of your most dynamic playmakers and your big man to have room to operate. So they run the dribble handoff. Shaedon Sharpe comes up from the corner, takes the handoff. Doesn't work right away for him to get free, so they try to rescreen. DeAndre Ayton classically makes 0 contact on the screen, but Shea doesn't need a ton of contact on this particular screen because Walker Kessler, a wonderful shot blocker, is way back off the screen. He's playing drop coverage and he's playing center field, and he's saying, I'm going to catch you at the rim. So I'm not going to come up high because I don't want to get blown by. Like, I can guard a little bit in space, but like where I'm effective is being around the rim. And Shaedon Sharpe sees that the big is back and eats up the space right away. It's a key part of attacking drop coverage. Eat up the space immediately. Don't dilly-dally. If you snake and wait, you are just allowing the defender to get back to you. So he attacks hard, and he attacks hard middle. The handoff is for him to get to the middle of the floor. But he has to attack with his left hand, which is not his strong, dominant hand. But takes power dribbles with his left hand, realizes he's going to have a chance to raise up, switches it back to his right as he takes off, cocks it back behind his head, and dunks on Walker Kessler through contact. Lets out a little roar, and the Blazers don't have time to really celebrate it because they're cutting into the lead to make it a 6-point game. It's a heck of a dunk. A heck of a dunk. And it would have been the type of thing that was like, hey, they lost, but at least there was that dunk. But here's the thing. They lost, but at least there were 2 dunks because Toumani Camara followed up the act. The Blazers still trying to rally for a comeback under 3 minutes. Now we're pushing towards the 2-minute mark. They run a 2-man game on the left side. This is just this isn't a set out of the timeout. This is just random basketball. Now you got to read and react and play. They run a little 2-man game. Toumani screens, and he pops. And as Shaedon Sharpe drives, Shaedon Sharpe just dunked all over one of the best defensive players in the league. So he gets a lot of attention on his drive, even driving with his left hand again. So as he attacks and 2 defenders make sure to wall him off and cut him off, keep him out of the paint, Shaedon Sharpe kicks it back to Toumani Camara, and instead of taking a 3-pointer, and Toumani's 0 for 3 from 3 at this point. 0 for 3 from 3 at this point. And he's not a good 3-point shooter. He's had some dunks, though, this season, for sure. Like, he's had some moments where it's like, dang, he's powerful. And that's what he is. He's a really good athlete. He uses his length well. He's a very functional athlete. Like, it's not like there's nothing sneaky about Toumani Camara's athleticism. You see it because he's strong and he's quick and he's bouncy, right? Like, he dunks in tip dunks, but he's mostly cut from the corner, like wide open baseline from the corner, dunk it quickly before anyone comes. This is from the wing. So you've got defenders on either side of you and someone meeting you at the rim. Like, it's a straight line drive, like a corner drive, but there's help from multiple spots. It isn't just like, hey, if I beat him here, there's only one place you can come from and I'm going to cram it. This is like, I better go quick because they can, dig in and help and all of those things. And Toumani's a lefty. He drives towards the left side of the rim, but it's basically a straight line attack from the left wing, puts it in his right hand. Lamar Hurd said on the broadcast that Toumani prefers to dunk with his right hand, and I'm inclined to believe him because as he cocks it back, he dunks all over Walker Kessler too. Oh, man. Salute to Walker Kessler. You know what happens to people who try to block shots? They get crammed on. Some of the best dunk highlights of all time are on shot blockers. The Vince Carter lean back on Alonzo Mourning, the Michael Jordan finger wag on Dikembe Mutombo, Patrick Ewing getting crammed on by Scottie Pippen. If you try to block shots, and I guess if you're a Georgetown center from the 80s, you're going to get dunked on. Walker Kessler stands in there all brave-like because he's a good defensive player. And bravery is commendable. But bravery often ends with you on the wrong end of a highlight, baby. Walker Kessler, that thing is forever. That is forever. You had 30 seconds that are forever, my man, and I'm happy for you. But that's a lifetime. You get to have that. You will always have the 30 seconds in Salt Lake City when you got crammed on twice by Shaedon Sharpe and then Toumani Camara. Came at you from both sides. Let's get it driving from the right wing. Let's get it driving from the left wing. Welcome to the rim. I'll meet you there. Too bad. Get crammed on. And the most important thing about this is these dunks mattered. Single-digit game, clock ticking under 3 minutes, trying to rally from down 11 in the final 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. And you're throwing down highlight dunks against a shot blocker. What a freaking way to finish this one. And then Malcolm Brogdon hits a huge three with 40 seconds left, and they hold on to win. And then Toumani Camara blocks a game-saving block at the buzzer. Like, talk about a lot of fun. Even against the shorthanded Jazz, even a game the Blazers absolutely, like this version of the Blazers absolutely could have won. The blocks might be worth it. the dunks, might be worth it because that was truly enjoyable. I think for the most part, unless you're a big-time Alex Sarr fan and you believe the Blazers absolutely have to lose as much as possible in order to win the lottery, and that if they would be poisoned should they win game 31 on the year, then not lose 60 times. But it would have been nice to get a win, but it really came down to the final 90 seconds of OT. Like, the Blazers were right in it. They were right in it. And tie ball game, just under 90 seconds left in overtime, skipping ahead a little bit after the dunks. Blazers come back and tie it, and you get to a tie ball game in OT. And Malcolm Brogdon gets a steal in the backcourt, hounding steal in the backcourt, and comes in and just smokes a layup. Kind of lost it on the way up, just didn't have it clean in his hand. It's on his right hand, it's not. It was unguarded, he just smoked it. He just smoked it. It happens sometimes, but just missed a point blank unguarded overtime layup. Stinks, but it kind of is what it is. It's the unluckiness of playing basketball. And Shaedon Sharpe crashes really hard to try to get the ball back because he knows tie ball game. He's been playing great, and Shaden's been taking over. I'll talk about this in a second. He's been really assertive in when he came back, which I love to see. I love to see say okay, it's time to win. Give me the ball. That's the progression you really want to see from Shaedon Sharpe. And he tries to just crash the offensive glass, and he bumps into Colin Sexton, and they call a over-the-back foul. But it happens kind of chaotically. It's unclear exactly what happened and if it's a foul or the ball's out of bounds, at least on the Blazers broadcast. I didn't watch the Jazz broadcast. I watched the Blazers. It's kind of unclear what happened, and it seems to me they didn't show the inbound play on the Blazers broadcast, but it seems to me the Jazz went quickly or tried to go quickly, go, tie ball game. Don't let them think about it. But the Blazers have to have to take a timeout and challenge there. Chauncey's got 2 left, under 2 minutes in OT, in a tie ball game. If you have a challenge, what other opportunity would than possession in a tie game with a minute left? Live, I will say that I thought Shaedon Sharpe crushed him, right? I thought Shaedon Sharpe just ran right up his back and ran through him, and it was a foul, and it was obvious. And maybe that's what Chauncey Billups saw from his angle as well. I'm watching on TV, like I'm on a couch. But like, from the live angle, from the broadcast, I thought Shaedon Sharpe absolutely just hit him. And I was like, dang, that stinks. It happens. All right, they got to play defense and still tied with a minute and 20 left. Like, you can win the game. But they showed the replay on the Blazers broadcast, and he didn't make a ton of contact with him. He just didn't. Would they change it on the review? I don't know. When they looked at it in the last 2-minute report, they said it was the right call. So maybe they don't. Maybe they go back and they say, no, this is the contact here. But if you got it, you can. That's a challengeable call. It's a whistled foul in the final 2 minutes. Like, you have 2 time at the time. Billups had 2 timeouts. Like, I think you just have to take it and twirl that finger. I think you got to go for it. You might lose, and you might and whatever. Like, that might be the end. It's not going to be the end of the game, but it might be. You might value the timeouts a little bit, but I can't imagine a scenario. It seems pretty easy actually to imagine a scenario. I take that back. I can easily imagine a scenario where you'd want a challenge in the final minute of an overtime game, but that's as good as there had been to that point, and you do not get to take them with you. So I thought that should have been challenged. Again, I think they might have lost, right? Like, if the league reviewed it on the last 2 minutes report, they lost. I will say the last 2-minute report and the reviews in arena don't always jive. There's a certain nuance, shall we say, to the end of to the way that the plays are reviewed. And I think asking refs to look at it that's just the job. You got to make them look at it. They don't. And then Utah scores, and you get the Blazers come the other way, and they kind of take their time. And they get Shaedon Sharpe into a full 1-4 flat ISO. They had run a bunch of good stuff. They were running this horn set. They ran it 3 straight times down the floor. Once they got a dunk, once they got a 3, and then the third time they ran it, Shaedon Sharpe passed up a 3 that he should have taken, ended with a shot clock violation. But like, they were running some like good. I've mentioned this a bunch in the program. It's like, I wish they ran better stuff in late in games. They were running good stuff in this one. This was a play that had options, that had reads, that set up, that flowed into a shot for Shaedon Sharpe, or a post up for DA, or a pick and roll off of that. Like, it had options, it had reads, there's 4 different things you could run out of the same action. They ran it 3 times down the floor, and they got a layup and 2 threes, except they just didn't take one of the threes. It was good stuff. But then they run an ISO, and I'm thinking, as the clock's running, it's taking too long, and it's Shaedon Sharpe ISO is just like, it's fine, but that's not high level. He's not like this high level isolation scorer at this point in his career. And he gets himself all the way into the paint, drives right into contacts and in Omer Yurtseven's chest. And on the replay, it looked like he got hacked. Live, it was one of those where it was like, wow, that was a lot of contact, but maybe he went vertical. Like, I wasn't screaming like foul. I was watching by myself, so I probably wasn't going to scream anyways. But like, I will say, I was like, it was a bunch of contact in there. But you think, oh, maybe that's vertical. They show the replay on the Blazers broadcast, and Yurtseven came down across his arms. That seems like a foul. Seems like he got fouled a little bit behind. At least it was very physical behind from Keontae George. The last 2 minutes report said it was clean. You can't challenge a no call. You just got to live with that one. Blazers down 2. I thought it was a tough no call. You got to foul, then things got to get, down 2 he drove with about 30 seconds left. It's 38 seconds left maybe when he started his attack. Like, if you don't score there, you're in scramble, and they were in a scramble and they end up losing. It's tough. I will say this, 2 things, and we'll close up the show here in the third segment talking Shaedon Sharpe and a little bit of Jeremy Grant. The Blazers didn't lose the game because of those foul calls, but it was harder, or because of those calls, the foul and then the no foul. They didn't lose the game because of those fouls. Certainly was harder to win because of them. Can I just offer this too? If you ever have a friend who's like, I don't like to talk about the refs, or I don't like to complain, you know me, I don't like to complain about the refs, and then they start complaining about the refs, that person loves complaining about the refs. I generally don't. The Blazers shot 32% from three in this game, 40% from the field overall. They lost this game because they were down double digits with 7 minutes left, and they had to rally to come back. And when you have to rally to come back, you put yourselves in a one-possession game, and one-possession games are coin flips because there's things like a shot clock violation that just didn't get it off in time and bad foul calls that go your way. Like it's just the luck of things. But certainly these two calls had an impact on the game, and the league said that they were both correct. So what are you going to do? Okay, let's talk let's talk Scoot Henderson and some closing thoughts on the Jeremy Grant thing real quick to close the show, and Shaedon Sharpe takeover mode. I'll mention that as well. We got a couple things to wrap up in that final segment, so join me there. First, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's all they're doing is they're just the #1 spot to get your action on whatever sports action you want to get in on. Plus, they want to give you a little bit of free money. So go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to take advantage of this offer. The offer, as it stands, you bet $5 on any money line bet. $5, but $5 on any money line bet. That's a team to outright win. That's what the money line is if you're new to the world of sports wagering. Then, once you win, once you get your money line pick right, pick a heavy favorite. Pick any heavy favorite, $5 on any heavy favorite to go ahead and win. They give you $150 in bonus bets to play around with. So then you don't have to bet on the money line. You can bet on everything from player props to over-unders. You can live bet games. You can put together your most elaborate parlay you've ever believed in. You got $150 in bonus bets to play with. So you can kind of take some wild risks. It can be a whole bunch of fun. So if you want to have a whole bunch of fun, go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Let's close up. I'll do my quickest thoughts into my slightly longer ones. My quickest thoughts. Jeremy Grant got injured. Jeremy Grant struggled in this game. 1 of 9 from the field. Didn't make a field goal until the 9:42 mark of the fourth quarter. Started 0 for 9. Started 0 for 8. Like just a tough Jeremy Grant game. The fact the Blazers were in it when Grant was playing the way he has, 0-5 from 3, made his free throws, 7 of 7, and was getting to the line. But the fact that they were in it on a night where Jeremy plays like that, because they've relied on him a bunch this year just to be that steadying offensive presence and kind of just like to soak up possessions. Like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. Can you take a bad 19-footer? And he's like, I can, and I'll even make about half of them. So they're hanging in the game despite Jeremy struggling. And then he goes up for a rebound against Yurtseven in the fourth quarter with about 8:25 left is in my notes, about 8.5 minutes left. He fouled him, he fouled the heck out of him too on the play. But they show the replay a couple times. It's like, dang, Jeremy Grant grabbed him. But they go up for the board, and Yurtseven's head comes back. He leans back while Grant is kind of grabbing him, and his head goes into Jeremy Grant's face, jaw, cheek area, and Grant falls back, falls down, and looks like he's in bad shape. Looks like he got hit in the head. And then he leaves and does not return in overtime. And the Blazers, as I'm recording this, it is 2:54 p.m. on a Sunday, have not released any information about his medicals. And it's just a bad look. It's a bad look to have someone have a head injury. Jeremy Grant had 2 concussions last year. It is a bad look for someone to have some sort of head-related trauma playing an NBA basketball game and not mention it. It's bad. I mean, there's nobody there. I'll just let's just the Blazers media doesn't really travel with this based on sort of the length of this road trip and the timing of this road trip and the quality of the team, quite frankly, and the state of sports media and what businesses are willing to spend money on. So there's nobody there. The only media on the ground was Brooke Olzendam, and Brooke's job is not to grill the team about freaking player safety. That's why you need independent media covering the team on the road. But to me, it's a bad look to have Jeremy Grant suffer some sort of head trauma that caused him to leave the game, and not even just to tweet out, Jeremy Grant undergoing further testing, questionable to return. the Blazers, they use, why I say tweet is they use Twitter to put their medical updates out there. If I missed it, I apologize, but I have not seen it, and I find that to be the lack of transparency in general with Blazers and injuries has been, we'll call it, a newsworthy thing over the last year, and to do this with something like this seems bad to me. Seems bad. I would do it differently. Okay, let's be a little more positive after I complained. I just want to make sure my point is out there. I thought Scoot Henderson played the best game of his young career. I thought he played really, 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 really well in the bench minutes to end the third and particularly begin the fourth against the Cavaliers as the Blazers mounted a late comeback in Cleveland. This game he was better. Like, he was better than that. 17 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, just turned the ball over a couple times. He still doesn't shoot well. It is what it is. He's 6 of 15 from the floor. He's 4 of 10 from 2. Even during a really nice stretch of the third quarter where he scored 8 points and 8 of his 17 came in that third quarter. He had a corner 3. He had a drive. He missed 2 layups. One really hard that is maybe like a challenging shot, and another one he just needs better touch around the rim. Like that's going to be a thing he develops into. But what I like about the way Scoot has played the last 2 games is that you can tell he is playing with purpose. I feel like very early on in his NBA career, like his first couple games, he was just playing at 100 miles an hour for the sake of playing at 100 miles an hour. It was just like he didn't have, the real skill is to go 0 to 100 to 71 to 12 to 100 again to 85 to 100 again, like that change of pace and like to knowing when to fully throttle it and when to pull back, and deceleration is such an incredibly important skill for the best players in the league. And Scoot just didn't have that. He only had the acceleration portion of the program. I think he's playing more purpose now, playing more confident. Like, he looked confident in this game. The offense might, like, the shooting might not be there this season. That might not be a thing. But I think he's a hard right-hand driver. He's trying to finish around the rim with his right hand. To know that, like, they know that you're also trying to get a scooping right-handed shot off and score. Like, I thought Scoot looked like he knew where and what he wanted to do in this game more so than he has. And that's the baby steps you want to see from him. And still just I don't mind him missing pull-ups, like whatever, that's going to be part of his growth, but it's the kind of like get in too deep and have to take a really hard layup that you wish that he could, do one less of those a game. But I think he's really, I think this was more than I talked about baby steps with Scoot. This is more than a baby step. This was like a legitimate step in the right direction because played with purpose. And, they needed him. He had 17 off the bench and they needed him. And frankly, the efficiency stuff is an important thing to kind of circle for the overall growth of Scoot Henderson. But when he's playing out there in lineups where it's just him and Jeremy Grant to open the fourth quarter, like, Scoot needs to shoot. Like, he needs to be the one who creates and scores. And he did for the most part. And then he had some great passes. 2 excellent passes that led to fouls, one to Duop Reith and one to Matisse Thybulle. If you're on my coaching staff, you are tracking passes that lead to fouls. Those are free throw assists. We're putting them in the column, free throw assists. So I'm definitely putting those in the column for Scoot. I thought those were, the one to Reith is just a great low pass in traffic, drives, draws 2, and lets a little like shovel pass out from his waist that gets to Reith, and Reith gets fouled at the rim. Had another drive and those right-handed hook passes he throws to Matisse that end up getting a foul on a drive. So yeah, I think Scoot's playing better, and I think this was one of them. Real quick on Shaedon Sharpe as the episode's running a little long, but I'll wrap it up here. The most important part of Sharpe's game today was he gets back in the game and the Blazers are down, I believe 9, and he immediately goes to work and he drives and scores. And then after he scores, like after he finishes a tough right-handed layup on in traffic and with a really nice touch on the right side, he immediately takes a step back 3, creating for himself. He wanted the ball and wanted to shoot it and was aggressive. And I think sometimes his aggressiveness wavers and then he's like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be aggressive. And so he takes a worse shot than he needed to. And a couple possessions later, he passed up a 3 he should have taken. I want Shaedon Sharpe, who's 9 of 20. It's not like he's hurting for field goal attempts. And he got to the free throw line 4 times. I want Sharpe to be a ball hog, particularly down the stretch of games, because the next step for him is to want to be the guy. And he struggled a little bit recently, so it is what it is. But like, I really like to see him say, "It's time to take over. Give me the ball." And I liked in the final minute of down 2 in OT, they gave him the ball and cleared out for him and said, "I bet you can get to where you want to go." And he did, and he got fouled, and they didn't call it. That's, to me, that's the growth from Shaedon, is that sort of the attitude of wanting the ball when the game's on the line. He has it in him. Like, he's a very competitive person. He just, his engine doesn't always rev super hot. When it's revving hot, you can see him. He's getting texts and stuff. Like, keep the RPMs up, Shaedon, because they need you. You're also pretty darn talented. So, the whole point of this season is to figure out what the youngsters can be. So let's have Shaedon figured out. Have him figured out. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Blazers don't play again until Wednesday. We listen to Monday, December 4th show. So we got a couple shows before that. And tomorrow's show, I want to talk a little bit about the Blazers defense and the injured player exception they received for the Robert Williams being out for the season. This is a tool they can use to get better. Plus, right now they got a top 10 defense, 19 games into the season. Who knew, baby? We'll talk about all of that in tomorrow's show. Come back for that one. 5 days a week wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.